pregnancy is overweight your life. So that's what I So for this video, my journey to conception. I had to make some health changes and just kind of the things I did to get myself ready for trying to conceive and for a pregnancy. So the first thing I did was I went to see my OB and I had just a general exam, and I just wanted to ask her some questions about what I could do to help like prime my body for pregnancy and what to put me in the best and healthiest position to have a good pregnancy. And some of the things she told me to do was to get an app to start tracking my cycle so I knew when I was ovulating so I could more easily plan how to conceive. And she told me that I needed to lose a little bit of weight. When I saw her at that time, which was about January 2022, I was 250 pounds and I'm 5'7" for reference, so that's like a BMI of obese, so she was a little worried about my weight. She also told me that because of my age, which I was 29 at the time, that if I didn't conceive after 6 months of actively trying, that I needed to come see her and talk about fertility, like treatments, or like see what was going on to see if anything was wrong or being hindered. I also asked her about some of the medication I was on. I do have depression and generalized anxiety disorder, and it is not manageable without medicine, so I wanted to talk to her about like if I'm able to get pregnant and stay on medication so I don't, spiral with my mental health while pregnant, because I want to enjoy my pregnancy and not be like in a really bad state of mind. So I talked to her about that, and she said that was more discussion to have with my psychiatrist because she was not familiar with those medicines. So the next step was to make an appointment with my psychiatrist. And so I did that, and I told my psychiatrist that I wanted my next appointment to be focused on prepping my body and going over the pros and cons of different meds and different risk factors of the meds I was on and what the benefits and risks were with pregnancy and also breastfeeding, because that is something I will hopefully be able to do successfully, and it's a hope of mine. At my meeting with my psychiatrist, she had these pamphlets printed out of all the medication I was on. I think I was on a total of 7 medications when I first went there, so we kind of had this crazy cocktail going. It was working for me. I was happy, I was stable, but most of them were not safe for pregnancy. I'm not going to go into what my medicines were and the side effects just because I'm not a doctor. I don't want you to take what I say and start getting off your meds or switching up your meds. Like, go talk to your doctor and see what they think about those medications you're on and pregnancy. So this is just for entertainment purposes. Like, don't take what I say as like gospel or anything. Like, I'm just going by what my doctor told me. And so I got to read all the information about all the medicines myself, and then together we made the decision on what I would stay on and what I would go off of. And I ended up only staying on 3 medications, one of them being more of a vitamin than an actual medication, so really only like 2 psych meds I stayed on. And I didn't just like stop cold turkey. Like, we spent 6 months of me weaning off my medicine and like checking in every month, making sure I was still stable as I was getting taken off this medicine. So it was like this big process. I'm really glad we took it slow and did it the right way, because if I was to spiral mentally while trying to conceive, which is kind of an emotional journey to begin with, like, it would not have been good. So we didn't even start trying till I was completely off the meds that I deemed too high risk for pregnancy. I didn't want to take the risk of staying on those medicines and being pregnant. I was weaned off the high risk medicines. It was about July 2022, and then I decided to take myself off the pill, and we weren't like actively trying, but we weren't doing anything to stop it either. Like, I wasn't like tracking my cycle and making sure to have intercourse when I was ovulating and being all scientific about it. We were just going with the flow and seeing if it happened, but we weren't too serious. So that started in about July 2022. this time I also implemented some more healthy habits into my life, because the doctor did tell me that it would be beneficial for me and my future unborn baby if I had a lower BMI, if I weighed less. So I started, I had a Fitbit, I started wearing it again, and I got 10,000 steps a day, and I started drinking 120 ounces of water a day, because I was not a good water drinker. Like, I was never hydrated and I drank way too much diet soda. So water is like a main staple in my day-to-day life, and also walking a lot. The next step in my conception journey was my weight loss journey, and I started that on January 1st, 2023. From January to April, I lost 30 pounds, and then on May 26th, 2023, I was 2 days late for my period, and I decided to take a test. But before this, I had been testing every month, like 6 days before my period, with those expensive pregnancy tests that like 6 days before your period. And I was just disappointed after disappointed after disappointed. And I was like, why isn't this working? I need to lose more weight. Like, something's wrong. I was trying not to freak out too much, because I know it was still early. Like, we hadn't been trying for a long time, but those negative thoughts still like came into my head. So I decided to lose that weight, and then, so 30 pounds down, and May 26th, I was 2 days late for my period, and I was like, okay, I made the promise to myself that I was not going to take another pregnancy test unless I was actually late. So here I was, 2 days late, and I was having this pelvic pain. It was like cramps, but different, and I was Googling it, and you know, it kept popping up like implantation cramping, and I was like, ooh, maybe this is really it. So I came home from work, and I took the test, and it was positive, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. And I sat in the living room, and I had it on a little piece of paper towel, and I had it on the coffee table. I'm waiting for my boyfriend to get home, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna be so excited, he's gonna be so excited. And then he came home, and he was so funny. He looks at it, and he goes, it's positive? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, we did it! It was so funny. But we were so happy, and that weekend was Memorial Day weekend, I believe, in May. I always get Labor Day and Memorial Day mixed up, but I'll see which one it is. And we were gonna see like all our family that weekend. And I know typically they tell you like, don't announce your pregnancy till you're like 12 weeks, because anything can happen. But I was, one, super excited, two, if something did happen and, you know, there was a grieving process, these were the people who would be a part of that process, and I'd be leaning on them for support. So it's fine if they knew. So we went to a barbecue at my boyfriend's parents' house, and his siblings were there. And I had the picture of the positive pregnancy test on my phone, and I went up to his mom, and I was talking, and I was like, oh, I took this really cool picture the other day, I wanted to show you. And like, she kind of looks at me, because I was like really random. I don't just show pictures to her on her phone. Maybe she thought it was like of our animals or something. And I open up the picture of the pregnancy test, and I show it to her, and she looks down, and she's looking at it, she's looking at it, she goes, no. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, oh my God. And everyone was so happy for us, and it was so exciting. And then like 2 days later, I was a little nervous to tell my mom, because my mom was kind of like, now she's happy, and she was happy right away. She just needed some time to process. But you know, with my mental health issues and us not being married, you know, she's a little more on the traditional side. She knew I was wanting to have a family, but she was kind of like not really thinking it was going to happen anytime soon. So I waited a couple days, and then I told her, and my stepdad was like totally shocked, and he needed like a month to process, and then he finally came around, and now they're both happy, planning my baby shower, being super supportive. They can't wait to be grandma and grandpa. But yeah, so we found out May 26th that we were having a baby, and it was like the best day ever. So that is my journey to conception. Follow me for more. I'm going to talk about like the first trimester symptoms. I'm going to make a video about different tests and concerns my doctor has had with me being overweight, like BMI wise. Like, most people don't take their gestational diabetes test till like 28 weeks. I took mine at like 14 weeks because she was afraid I was already diabetic, and it was like a whole thing, like the 3-hour test. But I'm gonna go into that more and different things she's had me do in concern with my weight. So like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, bye. Hello, my name is Natalie, and I share content in regards to my first pregnancy as being an overweight woman. This includes what I eat in a day, pregnancy updates, and weigh-ins. Oh, that was awful. Okay. It was... I keep not looking at the camera, so you can tell this is my first video, so I apologize. I will get better. Practice makes perfect, they say. So I will get better. But, yeah, so